Folks, we've had a couple of requests from subscribers who've been interested in thoughts and feelings on 38 Special and a 5 or 6 shot version versus a small compact 9mm. So what I'm going to do is give you a perspective on pros and cons associated with each. I'm also going to do a little shooting. It's extremely windy, so I'm actually doing the talking part now because the wind at the range this morning when we went to actually record this was out of control, and so none of the audio really comes through. So to start with, I'm going to be talking about two different handguns today. One is the Airweight. This is obviously Zen loaded. We've gone ahead and safety checked them. So we'll be talking about the Airweight. We'll also be talking about the Kahr PM9, which is a 9mm compact version. I've done reviews on both these guns, and of course both of these are unloaded. So what I was going to talk about was sort of the pros and cons of each one. Now, granted, we've got two different calibers, I think both 9mm and 38 Special, with today's quality ammunition, particularly the defensive loads, really are going to get the job done. And there is no magic bullet, there is no magic caliber. Frankly, it's the hits on target that count. Fortunately, most of us civilians in the course of our lives will never be forced to have to defend ourselves, but many of us prefer to carry and be in a situation where we do have the ability, in the event we were forced to fight for our lives or defend lives of our loved ones. So let's start with the Kahr PM9. This is a very compact 9mm. It holds 6 in the magazine and 1 in the chamber. So from a capacity standpoint, that gives you 7 rounds. It's also very flat, so it's very easy to carry and conceal. Fast to reload, in that a spare magazine that you might be carrying in your pocket, or ideally on a belt holster in a pouch, to make a magazine change, you're simply swapping out one magazine or dropping one magazine out, bringing another magazine up and in, and racking the slide or releasing the slide with the mechanism right here. So from my standpoint and perspective, the auto-loading pistol is a little faster to reload, and we can set some timers to this, but typically you know, it's 3 seconds for me on a full-size gun, 2 to 3 seconds, and on a smaller gun it may be 3.5 seconds. For an auto-loading, or excuse me, for a revolver, what I typically use is a speed loader, something like this right here, this HKS version. And the speed loader, simply you're dropping those rounds in, you're spinning the top of this, dropping the actual plastic and metal part, closing the action of the cylinder, and then pressing off your shot or assessing on whether or not you need to do that. So from an advantage standpoint, in terms of time to reload, the auto-loading pistol generally has a slight advantage. Again, I don't think that should be a deal breaker. Most of us will never have to shoot, you know, multiple rounds and go into reloading and do it again and again. I mean, the reality is, if we're in a flight and fear response fighting for our life, we're going to shoot the threat till the threat goes down, and in most cases we're not going to be, say, involved in a military type situation or even a police type situation where we're dealing with multiple threats and in a sustained gunfight. Hopefully we'd never have to do that. And if we are, a small concealable pistol is probably not the right tool to have in that type of situation. So from the standpoint of concealability, both this gun, the Kahr PM9, and the Smith Wesson Airweight work great in a pocket holster. In this case we have a DeSantis pocket holster, and what's really nice about this is, as you draw the gun from the pocket, the rough texture actually stays within the pocket, so the holster stays within the pocket. So if you're presenting the weapon from here, you're simply pulling your gun out with your finger off the trigger, right? Pulling gun out, being careful not to flag the body, and you're coming out and you know, engaging the threat. if that were the situation. So that works great for that type of situation. For many of us who carry the 38s, the pocket carry, and again, I would recommend that you use a pocket holster like this DeSantis holster, Remora. There's a bunch of them out there. But again, this works very, very well. You also wear it in the front of the pocket here, and as you can see, doesn't make a big print. Almost looks like a wallet. But again, if I had to present the weapon, I could simply draw out, and you'll note in every case where I have drawn the gun, the holster has stayed there. So that is really critical as you're looking for a pocket holster. Next is manipulation. Now, one nice thing about revolvers for loading and unloading, it's really simple. We have a slide or cylinder release here, and depending on the type of firearm you have, it's going to move forward or backward, or with the new Smith Wesson, actually it's going to move up on top, but that's the bodyguard. But this simple mechanism latch here, so we open the cylinder, allows us to very quickly inspect whether the gun is unloaded or loaded, and it makes it very easy. It's not a complicated thing to reload. So, you know, gun runs dry, I dump the rounds out, I put additional rounds in, I close the cylinder, and I'm back in the fight. With an auto-loading pistol, there's a little bit more to do, and particularly as it relates to the smaller the gun. Now, one challenge with these smaller loading or smaller pistols is they've got fairly tight springs and not a lot of area to grab and manipulate the gun. So if you don't have strong hands and you don't practice this, then and many people carry in condition 3, so loaded chamber but nothing. Unloaded chamber, loaded magazine, but nothing in the pipe, means that as they present the weapon, they've got to, work their slide. Now, if you do this a lot, it's really not a problem. If you don't, then, and some people don't have really good dexterity to do this, that's sometimes a problem getting the gun into action. The nice thing about a revolver, of course, is you know it's loaded, you've checked it's loaded, you draw it, and you're going to press that shot. There's nothing else that you have to do. The other advantage with a revolver, if you press a shot, boom, nothing happens, just press again, and that will rotate that round, assuming there's rounds in the gun. Now, the auto-loading pistol, on the other hand, if we press a shot and we see that there is nothing happens, right? So I press my shot, boom, nothing happens. I've got to go into immediate action drill, tap, rack, assess, and it would strip off another round. Again, you have to train with that enough so it's actually deeply embedded in your training, and so it's deeply embedded in your muscle memory. So for those of you who are not going to spend a lot of time practicing, a revolver may be a great option to consider. Both this gun, which is the Kahr PM9, and the Smith Wesson have long double action triggers. Neither one of them have an extended or external safety, which means your finger, as it always should be, is the safety. They're both designed with that long double action pull, which means you have to be deliberate about wanting to press that trigger off and that shot. So both of these have, again, depending on what you want to do, some people prefer a double action trigger, a long heavy double action trigger, because they feel that provides additional safety for them. So again, between the two guns, both of them similar in that respect. So someone says, well, which one do you carry? And my answer is both. It really depends on what I'm trying to do and what the ability is for me to carry this weapon concealed or the 38 Special concealed, and also it depends on what I'm doing and where that concealment is. So both have advantages, and certainly both have disadvantages. What I would encourage you to do as you're looking at a potential carry gun and you want something small, then go to a range where you can rent some different guns, try some different guns, see how you are at manipulating guns, how you are with accuracy, and then have you know, really some deep thoughts about how you're going to deploy the gun, where it would be used, how it will be used, and how it's going to be stored. So everything that you're doing with it is really focused on safety, but also being able to deploy it if you need to. Finally, you know, if at all possible, and you can carry a larger gun, the larger the gun is, the easier it is to manipulate, to move around, you know, to present it, to get good hits. Smaller guns mean, you know, with the nature of basic physics, means there's going to be more felt recoil. It's going to be harder to get a long sight radius, a sight picture with a shorter slide. It's going to be harder to manipulate it if it's an auto loader, and it's going to require more dexterity than you are when you're using a full-size gun, and that is again something to consider. Every handgun, rifle, whatever you use, shotgun, everything has its benefits and its disadvantages. So what you really have to do is define how you're going to use the weapon, how you're going to use that gun, what context, and really what the mission is. If the mission is, I want to always have it with me, I want some, you know, basic capabilities in terms of firing. I'm not going to spend a lot of time to practice all the stuff associated with an auto-loading pistol, but I just want to go out there and know that I've got something. A revolver is an excellent tool to use and shouldn't be discounted. The same thing with an auto-loader. Can be a great tool. The bottom line for me is you need a caliber that is, I think, a reasonable 38, 9mm, sort of the baseline for me. Other people will use a 380. I think that's ultimately up to the person who's going to use the gun. Hits count more than anything. So, you know, if you think, well, if I've got a big 45, that's gonna make it happen. I've talked to many combat vets and many police officers, people who have been shot. They will all say, and shot other people, and they will all say the same thing. There is no magic bullet. And they have seen people shot with big caliber guns and not gone down. I've seen them shot with small caliber guns in the right places and gone down. So handgun is a relatively inefficient tool, but again, it allows us to carry a form of personal protection that can prevent danger and loss of life from happening to us. So we'll take a look at some of the video from this morning in the next segment here on the video to look at some deployment of both the Kahr PM9 and the .38 Special Smith Wesson Airweight. The gun comes out of the holster, again, finger off the trigger. I press out. Sometimes see this where you get a round that's hung up in the chamber itself. We take our speed loader here, we line it, we drop it, come back out. Okay, so what we have is we have our Kahr PM9. We're using the exact same holster, which works very well, this DeSantis holster. Again, as I draw the weapon, draw the gun, the holster stays in the pocket, which is nice. I have a spare magazine, a 7-round magazine. Come out, I present the weapon. Now here's where the advantage in my mind is. Punch the magazine out. Because of that, again, as an auto-loading pistol, because of the ability to simply punch the mag release right here, have the magazine fall clear, that's an advantage. The disadvantage with a very small gun like this, I just cleared the weapon, the disadvantage is when you insert the magazine in, the Kahr, with its tight spring and the slide release here, it is sometimes hard to find that release and get it actuated so it releases the slide forward. The other thing is you have to be really aggressive and able to work the action of this gun, work the slide, and it's not the easiest one to use. The larger the gun, the easier that is. So this is a great tool, but again, you have to have the strength and the ability, as well as some agility, to actually be able to run the gun. So that pretty much wraps it up. I want to thank you all for watching and for the subscribers who actually requested this video. And I would encourage you to try some different guns, see what works best for you. Practice, get training, and focus, number one, on being safe in all that you do. Thanks as always, and remember, stay safe.